Welcome to Chai Pe Kharcha, where we have conversations on personal finance among four NRI professionals working at tech firms. Think of these like water cooler chats you have at the office. Only this time, you will have Ishan, Madhvesh, Rohit, and Siddharth as colleagues you will be listening into. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. We are not financial experts. The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Always consult with a qualified financial professional if you need financial advice.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Chai Pe Kharcha. Today we have the full house back again. All four of us today are going to talk about a very exciting topic, which is crypto, which I think is one of the most controversial asset classes of the day today. We have people who are very pro crypto, not pro crypto, or very nothing on crypto. So we'll learn about how all of us are thinking about and investing in the crypto space. So let me open it up. Maybe Siddharth, I'll go with you first. What are your general thoughts? Like, I know that you do a lot of research on crypto, and you have mentioned earlier that you have invested different amounts of money in different cryptos, and you talk about the utility value and that kind of stuff. So, my question to you is, for a person who might be just starting out on crypto, how do they learn about the space, and based on what principles should they make an investment decision? How do you do it?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, how do you learn about crypto? I had mentioned this in one of the previous episodes. Point Bureau is a YouTube channel. It gives out content in a very layman language, so easy to ramp up on it. You can start with that. और फिर बाकी once you go to Coin Bureau, they give links to other sources also और YouTube channel internet Google करोगे तो भी मिल जाएंगे. Coin Bureau से start. Second, what principles should you apply? ये तो मैं खुद ही expert नहीं हूँ. I read or listen about it as much as possible, but I am not a crypto or Web3 expert. I won't be able to say ki what principles you should apply. What I do, I can tell you, is I had started in 2020, COVID के time पे, and I invested in multiple assets from Bitcoin, Ethereum to Terra, Luna, UST,
Love it.
and BAT, which is Brave browser wala, which good token according to me. Well, I've lost a lot of money. Terra Luna is Rohit and me can there are have scars from that. और ऐसा अभी अगर मैं देखूं 2003 साल हो गए हैं, मोटा मोटा मैंने बहुत गेन नहीं किया. इनफैक्ट अभी मार्केट भी डाउन है,
Hmm.
तो आई एम क्लोज यानी नेट इक्वल है, स्लाइटली ऑन द डाउन साइड भी बोल सकते हैं. तो प्रिंसिपल्स इफ आई हैड टू माय माइंडसेट नाउ, या अगर मेरे को किसी को बताना पड़े, राइट, से जस्ट थिंक अबाउट बिटकॉइन नाउ. That's something that I am pretty bullish. It will stay valuable for the foreseeable future. On other assets, it'll depend a lot on regulations, on the improvements the projects make themselves. Ethereum being the primary one in that. Yeah, right. That's the question you asked.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Madhvesh, let me bring this to you. I know you mentioned that you have a few reservations about this entire space. Can you tell me, like, what are your views on crypto? Are you currently invested? If yes, why? If not, why not?
Okay, let me just start by stating that I have not even invested a rupee or any of the related assets. There are a couple of things which actually stop from doing so. Philosophically, I feel like the asset is still in its early stages, so I still want to wait. The other thing is that if you don't understand something completely, you shouldn't invest it. I really go by that idea. I've definitely done some research. I wouldn't say to the part of what Siddharth and you have done, but I've still not been able to understand the A to Z of what crypto is, like what drives the asset, what backs the asset. So that has also made me really hesitate investing in crypto. Having said that, I'm a real believer of there needs to be a different asset class or a new asset class that is going to be as big as what the traditional assets were as we move into a more ambiguous future or volatile future, for instance. So yeah, so these are my current dogmas per se, and hopefully I'll be able to learn more from you guys and maybe change your interesting.
Okay. Let me ask you one more question. What would need to happen or what would need to change for you to start investing in?
One of the core philosophies I have about investing is that the masses drive the profit and losses. And I think crypto is not at the stage where the masses understand and they can invest in. Or there are certain products even the masses don't understand, but they still invest in, like insurance, etc., where you have like equity linked insurance. But crypto, I don't think still it is at that stage. Probably a combination of me learning or understanding more about it, plus the masses adopting it, might change my stance.
Okay, interesting. Ishan, I know that earlier you have mentioned that you are very heavily invested in equities, almost to the tune of 90 to 100%, if I'm not wrong.
All of
What?
my all of my actual investments are in. The rest of it
All
is
right,
cash or cash equivalents.
Nice. So, should I take it that you don't have any money invested in crypto?
No. So
Okay.
my history with crypto is slightly different. I think because
Yep.
I'm slightly older than all of you. I actually got very intrigued with the idea of Bitcoin when Bitcoin kind of came into the news that there was an alternate currency that was worth something to US dollars. Now, when you hear these things and Bitcoin has been given out for free, you could go to websites and you could write a blog article for them and get a Bitcoin for it. It was an intriguing proposition. But being in India at that point and not really picking anything equivalent to US dollars, it was not really an option. But I have been following it since then. And the thing that scares me the most is there is no real underlying driving factor for the value changing as fast as it does. It is mostly some form of market insanity that drives it in either direction. Now, maybe it's just that I don't understand it. That's where Siddharth can come in and he can tell us exactly what's making Bitcoin go from $1,000 in one decade, $60,000 in the next decade. But it just felt like at some point of time, people were using this as an alternate way of raising money with the ICOs and with no accountability because there was absolutely zero checks and balances on who are these people who are raising money, what is the underlying asset, what is the company, what are they trying to build. I have I have a lot of faith in the fact that blockchain in itself as a technology or as a technology class has utility. It may not be exactly in the way it is today. It may have applications in multiple ways tomorrow. I also see banks starting to use blockchain because I think in the end, blockchain might replace the central clearing systems itself, which will affect banks as well. So that's possibly one thing where blockchain might become successful, but I'm not sure if these cryptocurrencies in themselves are the way forward. So that's where I haven't been able to find any evidence that these are useful investments. They are driven by market media. So that's how I feel, which is why maybe Siddharth, Madhvesh, Rohit, you guys can talk about what you've studied and what has actually happened where you feel there's an underlying value to the entire thing.
I think Siddharth is basically bursting to.
हाँ मेरे मन में बहुत सारी टिप्पणियां थी, फिर मैं रुक गया था कि आप जब रुकेंगे तब मैं बोलूंगा।
मेरा
सर
एक और रिजर्वेशन में बता देता हूँ, आप सिद्धार्थ उसका भी साथ में बताइए। तो मेरा एक और रिजर्वेशन था कि गवर्नमेंट रेगुलेशंस। आई थिंक व्हेन asset class is really volatile, government can clamp down on it on any time. For example, Abhi, there are certain businesses in India, if you take like casinos and stuff, there is one particular company called Delta Corp, which is really good at running its business. But because the government is not like really aligned to what the casinos do or how they make money, They recently came up with a lot of changes in their taxations and etc. And overnight, the stock went down by 50%. So even though the company is good, the business has been run good, and we know casino as a business is a very lucrative business, for lack of a better word. Government regulations is a big list, and that is one of the reasons which also keeps me away. So Siddharth, over to you.
तो मैं पहले ईशान वाले पॉइंट का एक वो देता हूँ नोट, then you can ask question and then I'll come to the regulation piece. On the piece that you said that there's no underlying value to Bitcoin, which is true, there is no underlying value to gold also. It has value because people believe it has value. And gold has been an asset for
1,000.
as thousands of years, hundreds at least. So that isn't a very strong argument. And on top of that, Bitcoin, I think, has accumulated a big enough mass for it to be considered valuable. I don't have the numbers at the top of my head, but over a couple of million people believe Bitcoin has value and that's why they've bought it. So वहाँ वो तो है, at least ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई भी नहीं मान रहा. There is that. The piece in government regulations, I agree with my base. It is a volatile asset and government regulations are not clear across the world. They're trying to establish some regulations, still not great. US is still trying to figure it out. India made it's quite tricky at this point. That I can see as the point of being hesitant to invest. But Baki, I think the value, again, maybe bias. I think there is value, not just in Bitcoin, but in other assets as well.
So
Just to-
Mera uspe, sorry, right, this is countering that point that this is going to be a good debate. It's just countering that point, sir. I agree.
Right.
You can say even gold has no value. Even at some point in time, money is eventually a piece of paper. It has value because people believe it has value. But I think even Madhvesh made this point. One, there is no mass adoption. So there is the belief that this has value is not reached at a scale where you would assume that it genuinely has value. Second, I would compare gold more to, say, NFTs, where you thought it had value because people thought it had value. And you've seen how NFTs have changed at the moment. Again, they might come back in a big way, just like Bitcoin did after 10 years. And it might suddenly scale in value. But the problem here is there is that value in itself is not something that can be determined in a logical manner, right? Gold has value because it's being traded regularly. You see it being traded, and it doesn't go from being $10 per gram today to $500 per gram tomorrow. That is so volatile. Like Warren Buffett calls it the greater fool theory, right? He says it's basically the greater fool theory that I'm buying it today and that someone will be willing to pay 10 times price tomorrow. But it's not logically a money producing asset. He even talks the same thing about gold. He says even gold is not a value producing asset. That's why I wouldn't even buy gold as a hedge. He says, not me, that I wouldn't buy gold as a
Right.
hedge also because it's not really. I would rather buy land. Land can produce actual value for me than gold would over a period of time. We buy gold traditionally because in India, gold has always had some value for us, and B, because if nothing else, it can turn into jewelry for us. So there is some value in creating something out of it. What would you do with the Bitcoin if Bitcoin is not being traded tomorrow? The trading for it actually shuts down tomorrow. That Bitcoin that you're holding could become worthless.
So 2 points there. There is mass adoption. The mass adoption है आप NFT से compare करो, NFT is a baby in front of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is way more adopted than NFTs or any or other crypto.
I think maybe just to add to that, institutional investors like the BlackRock type level ke companies which are actually invested. I think just recently there was some ETF spot. It's not, and I just as a reminder, this is obviously not like investment advice whether somebody should or should
Yeah.
not invest. These are like different viewpoints that all four of us hold about why we choose to invest or not invest in crypto, Bitcoin, or any of those things. Sorry, go ahead, Siddharth.
I just finished. So mass adoption wise, the Bitcoin is adopted quite universally. Most major banks, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, all of them have some Bitcoin offerings. In terms of
Regulation stops it from trading tomorrow. What will you suddenly do with that Bitcoin?
Yeah, correct. So it is decentralized enough also. The one country's regulation cannot hit it, which is a big thing that if you follow the crypto news, SEC is also taking into account. The SEC is almost categorizing everything as securities except Bitcoin because they say that Bitcoin is so decentralized, it it cannot be categorized. And SEC is RBI equivalent, the US, the big institution. So there is enough decentralization in Bitcoin, which again, ऐसा नहीं है कि it, if 2-3 powerful governments decide tomorrow to stop, they can't stop it. That is same with gold also. That is same with any other asset also. So why do we crucify just Bitcoin? Bitcoin is also, as I said previously, transparent है, public ledger है, the technology is more clear as opposed to gold का वगैरह जिस पे you are dependent on third parties to declare कि भाई इतना gold dig किया है, तब बिका है, decentralized है.
All right. Thanks for that lively debate, Siddharth, Ishan, Madhvesh. I think very interesting topics or very interesting points on both sides. What I would like to add is from my personal experience for anyone who's listening out there. There are two things that I think should be considered when you are choosing to invest in the crypto space. One is, of course, which particular cryptocurrency you are choosing. So, whether you're going with a Bitcoin, Ethereum, BAT, or anything else. The other is the platform that you're using and how you're storing your crypto. I think that is something which I personally completely missed and I kind of paid the price for it. My story basically is that there were some local platforms where I live and I use those platforms to invest in Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin, for people who may be familiar, is obviously the most well known cryptocurrency in the world, generally considered relatively safer in quotes compared to any other cryptocurrency. So, all of my investment into Bitcoin, I felt was very solid and very secure. What I failed to consider is the platform that I was using was actually highly exposed to some, let's call it in retrospect, not at that point of time, but in retrospect, scammy currencies and scammy tokens, which ultimately failed. And उसकी वजह से जो प्लेटफॉर्म मैं यूज कर रहा था वो प्लेटफॉर्म itself went completely bankrupt. तो आज के दिन में सिचुएशन क्या है कि आई हैव सेवरल lakhs in Indian currency terms, several lakhs of money invested in Bitcoin, but I cannot access that Bitcoin क्योंकि वो प्लेटफॉर्म ही गायब हो गया है. There are bankruptcy proceedings going on and some kind of liquidation, and they're trying to recover maybe like 5 to 10% of the value that investors have lost in that company. But personally, I have completely written it off. So आज के दिन में जब मैं अपना net worth calculate करता हूँ, my crypto exposure, I count it as zero crypto exposure. If that bankruptcy process gives me back some of the Bitcoin that I have lost, then maybe because वो बोलते हैं ना दूध का जला and all that, so I might just sell it off and bring it back into cash and maybe go through the route of an equity investment. It will be a while before I feel confident enough to restart my investment into cryptos. Even though I still am a Bitcoin believer, I am, I guess, too jaded by this experience, which happened in 2021, 2022, for me to restart my crypto exposure anytime soon. I know, Siddharth, you have shared always very helpful tips around where to store your crypto and how to safeguard it. As a cybersecurity expert yourself, any quick tips that you would want to share around how to protect your crypto assets? How do you protect your crypto assets?
Hi. So hardware wallet is the de facto standard at this point. Yeah. What a hardware wallet means is think about it like a पेन ड्राइव जहाँ पे your files, crypto files would be stored, and it is air gapped. मतलब it's not connected to the internet, so chances of someone malicious compromising that are lessened. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं हो सकता, but it is less. Second best option is a mobile wallet, which is an app on your mobile phone. And you can store your crypto there. So there is a very famous saying in the industry: "Not your key, not your coins," which means is अगर आपके पास नहीं है आपकी files and you're storing it with a centralized authority like a exchange, then anytime, जैसे रोहित told a story, things like that happens, you have no way to claim your crypto back.
Yeah. I think the equivalent to that would be maybe you have a gold coin at your home और कल आपके घर से कोई वो कॉइन को उठा के ले गया तो there is no way in hell that you can prove कि वो कॉइन आपका था, right?
Correct. Correct.
So I think
So
another
I
parallel to gold as an gold as an asset.
yeah, yeah. I also want to, just before we move on to another topic, and this
Yeah.
was something that we were discussing offline. I want to clarify a discussion that we had earlier on gold versus Bitcoin.
Hmm.
I want to say that I am not saying that Bitcoin is a better asset than gold. Gold, in terms of its validity, has been there for way longer than Bitcoin.
Hmm.
What I wanted to compare was the similarity in terms of determining both of their value, which
Fair.
is perceived value. So just to put that out there also.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for clarifying that. I guess my last point on this entire topic is that what percentage of your portfolio as a regular investor, not someone who's necessarily an expert in crypto or even an investment expert, as an everyday person who's just trying to optimize their portfolio for the right balance of growth versus security versus protection, everything. What is your percentage exposure of your total net worth to the crypto space?
So this is where it will be proved that I have not put my money where my mouth is. बहुत ही कम इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है मैंने जब
Okay.
से मैं बिटकॉइन की तारीफें कर रहा हूँ और ये सब है, बट
Okay.
आई माई सेल्फ हैव हैड extremely low percentage. My percentage would be uh, in the less than 1%.
Oh,
It's,
interesting.
it's very low. And even though I believe in the value, I am just so risk averse.
Hmm.
All the points that Madhvesh and Ishan said, I
Yeah.
have them in the back of my mind. And all the other points that they have not said also, because I
Yeah.
do so much research on this topic. My aversion has not led me to buy a lot of crypto assets, coins.
Got it. Got it.
So from the research you've
How?
done,
Right.
Sid, given that you are still a fan of this space, what is something
Right.
that of interest that we have not yet learned, or we have not yet understood, which you have found about the crypto space?
यार दो तीन चीज़ें हैं which I यानी I'll give a general answer कि a lot of people don't think about it. One is the decentralization piece, which a lot of people know, but they don't think about it while investing in crypto. Decentralization makes it a resilient to to changes. So ये example जो रोहित ने दिया जहाँ पे he said that a central exchange went bankrupt and his crypto was lost. Bitcoin in itself, because there is no centralized authority, you'd not have that situation. That's one. Second thing is there is a lot of utility in three in general and crypto finance. So I don't know if you guys know much about DeFi, which is decentralized finance. But they, you can see that they have replicated what traditional finance has done and done it much better, in the sense the normal retail investors can make bets which only institutional investors can do in traditional finance. So check that out as well. And the third thing, which again is just not known to many people, in the last 10 years, Bitcoin has been the most valuable asset for an investor. So if you invested 100 rupees in Bitcoin and 100 rupees in gold or index fund, Bitcoin would have come up as the leader. So as an investor, there's that, which mic drop.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. I think basically what you're saying, Sid, is out if you are a returns chaser in some sense, then then you go where the returns are, and Bitcoin has been offering tremendous returns
Yeah,
compared to like,
true.
yeah. All right. Cool. I think wonderful points. There was some great perspective today. Big takeaways, very interesting category, worth looking into, learning about. Whether you choose to invest or not invest, that is completely up to the person based on your personal situation, your own research. Be careful about the platforms, be careful about the projects, be risk averse as much as possible, because of course this is still a very developing, very early sort of a space with a lot of things that can go wrong. With that, I think I'll close the episode today. Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts, and we'll be back again with another very interesting episode very soon.